We move on to our next story. And New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has sent a handwritten note to former Jawaharlal Nehru University student Umar Khalid, who is currently in Delhi's Tihar jail. In the letter, Mamdani expressed solidarity and recalled their previous interaction, writing, "We are all thinking of you." Mamdani, the first Muslim and Indian origin mayor of New York, handed the note to Khalid's parents during their visit to the US in December 2025. Khalid's father, Syed Qasim Rasool Ilyas, said the meeting included discussions about Khalid's prolonged incarceration and Mamdani's engagement with his letters from jail. Khalid, arrested in September 2020 under India's Unlawful Activities Act for alleged involvement in the February 2020 Delhi riots, has consistently denied the charges. He has notably been in jail without a trial for 5 years now. The note surfaced on social media, shared by Khalid's partner. The case has attracted international attention, with US lawmakers, including Congressman Jamie Raskin, raising concerns over Khalid's continued pre-trial detention. Dr. Chadha joins us once again to discuss this. India, of course, maintains that Khalid faces serious charges to the 2020 Delhi riots. However, he has now spent 5 years in jail without a trial under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. What does such a prolonged trial, pre-trial detention, say about due process and democratic norms in Delhi?
Well, I mean, when these 2020 riots happened, we need to go back and see the US, sort of a connection there as well. Not for the riots per se, but, the kind of reaction and response of the Indian government, because it was around the time of President Trump's, when he was, in his first term, his visit to New Delhi, exactly at that time. So when these riots happened, there were several people who were arrested, and probably, because they were found to be either possibly linked to inciting violence or linked to in some way, orchestrating the kind of violence that happened. And Umar Khalid was one of those people who were at that point held responsible and were jailed or incarcerated, and they were pending trial. Nothing has happened so far. I mean, we continue to see that, the case has been pending. We don't see a clear judgment in that case. However, December also was around the time when, India's courts granted him a bail to attend his sister's wedding. And so, U.S. lawmakers or any sort of this media attention that this case is getting is very, very critical for a lot of reasons, right? Because we see once again President Trump back in the White House. We see the newly elected mayor Zohran Mamdani, who was sworn in on a very socialist democratic sort of agenda, him trying to in some way bridge the gap or take up this case as, his show of international solidarity, or trying to show that, and it was again very, very well timed, because the question then arises, why now? Why is everyone in the US on let's say, who do stand on the same ground with Mr. Mamdani, why are they expressing this solidarity 5 years later? Why not earlier, right? Because of all this handwritten notes. And that is very, very curious, right? I don't see any Indian responses. It's also very unlikely that India is going to respond to this, at least at a national level, because that has been their previous policy. They don't usually respond to, people from the Congress, though they might respond very directly and very quickly to people from the administration per se. That's very, very unlikely that we are going to see that. However, we cannot rule out the fact that this is a very, 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 important development in the US politics, because the question then arises, why Mr. Mamdani had to kind of pitch this as part of his political identity, as part of a global struggle that he's doing. And the things that come to my mind are probably he's trying to showcase that he understands the the working class struggle in New York, and is trying to bridge somehow that struggle with the democratic struggles that are happening abroad. And the fact that his base, or his political base, or the one that he closely identifies with, is him being the first Muslim South Asian mayor who's elected in New York. He's trying to probably play in some way to that political clout or that base as well, when he pitches this idea of solidarity. And lastly, his approach to the Delhi riots, we don't see him talking much about the Delhi riots or the the victims or people, who suffered. But we do see him trying to bring up this issue as that of a political prisoner, rather than those of people who are pending judgment. Yes.
Indeed. Dr. Chadha, as always, it is a pleasure to talk to you and have you on the broadcast. Thank you very much for joining.